Number 1. Am I the asshole for checking my husband's dashcam footage on his car without his consent? I, a 34-year-old female, live with my husband, 37-year-old male, and daughter, 7. My daughter and I recently went on a short trip out of state while my husband stayed as he had work and was supposed to look after our dog. On the last day of our trip, we got a call from my husband who was acting distraught and said that our dog Ellie had run away, and that he could not find her. He claimed she just bolted away from him in the park, into some bushes, and he could not find her. Our dog is quite small, a mini poodle mix and almost 13 years old. She is still active, but it is really unlike her to run away from us. I was suspicious, but chose to believe my husband. My daughter and I were in grief but did not want to blame him. When we came back home, he seemed surprisingly okay, unlike us. Ever since the pandemic, my husband started working from home, and he has always been annoyed at how much attention we gave Ellie and hated how Ellie begged to sit on our laps and his while he worked. A few days later, we got a call from an animal rescue in a neighboring state quite far from us that she had been found. I picked the phone and it was on our landline, which we almost never use these days, but was the contact on the microchip. I told my husband and he just said, "That is great, I am so happy," but it felt kind of blunt and insincere. I said it is strange that she got so far, and he responded that someone must have stolen her and then abandoned her. This made little sense to me as to why that would happen. When he was out drinking with his buddies, I copied the videos from his dashcam for the days I was away. I saw that he had indeed taken Ellie far out of state, and clearly dropped her in front of his car, thrown a frisbee-like object into a field, yelled fetch, and drove off without her. I was livid and confronted him, and he just stupidly muttered how he dropped her there so she could find a farm and have a better life, and then the next day got really angry at me for viewing his dashcam and called me and my daughter assholes. Garden Safe 8519 replied, "Not the asshole. Keep your dog and daughter and leave the husband in another state to find another family he'd have a better life with." Deep Manor 4111 replied, "Wow, not the asshole. You had a gut feeling and were absolutely right. This is horrible. What your husband did was sick and cruel. He left an innocent animal to die. Obviously, what you do now is up to you. But if it were me, I would never be able to trust him again. The entire relationship would be ruined. He needs to seek therapy if he is so insecure that he is jealous of a dog. Pathetic excuse for a man." Original poster says, "Oh, I will never trust him again, and I am going to be seeing a lawyer soon. I might have a lot to lose as I earn significantly more than him. This whole situation is a big yikes. How can someone be that cruel to a helpless animal on purpose? I'm sure he knowingly abandoned it with the intention of it getting further lost and dying somewhere far from home. This is borderline psychopathic behavior. Why not speak to your family about you not liking animals, or making more of an effort to be involved in your family's lives if the attention factor is that big of a problem? The thought process here is very immature and reckless for someone who's supposed to be heading a family. The behavioral insight this situation gives, and his reaction to getting caught lying, tells us that he's not going to let this situation play out maturely or take responsibility. He's going to try and be even more manipulative. Hopefully, you, your daughter, and your dog find happiness going forward without him in the picture. Number 2. Am I the asshole for not wanting to stop being mute once my daughter turns 18? I, a 41-year-old female, have daughter Ceci, 17-year-old female, with my husband Ray, a 41-year-old male. Ceci has a brain-based disorder called misophonia that makes her very sensitive to certain sounds. In her case, people speaking, chewing, anything with their mouth pretty much, and it's very severe. Ever since she was born, she was prone to outbursts and meltdowns, the details of which I'm not able to share here from my voice. We thought she was likely on the spectrum for a while until a professional told us she believes she has misophonia. As far as I know, it's not yet recognized as a disorder, so you technically can't be diagnosed. Her anger was always instant and at its worst whenever I made any noises, so to keep it to a minimum, we formed a plan that I would not speak in her presence, ever. Instead, I use ASL, texting, text-to-speech, or Ray will be a messenger, anything but my mouth pretty much. I even have to be careful just clearing my throat or making sure she can't hear me from another room so she isn't triggered. She stopped going to public school and takes her classes online. We are also all in therapy while she is also in cognitive behavioral therapy. She has shown a lot of improvement over the years, but my voice is still a huge trigger for her. She finds my voice grating and unbearable, and she goes from 0 to 100 at the slightest noise I make. It's been awful for me to deal with, in all honesty, and while our relationship isn't terrible by any means, there is always this barrier. She'll be starting senior year soon, and Ray and I decided that once she became an adult, I would not be mute anymore. I think it's been long enough now, and Ceci will need to try and make do because her condition is still not recognized to a lot of people, and thus the real world will not be able to be nearly as accommodating towards her condition compared to others. With a year to go, we thought we'd tell her now in advance so she could prepare. She took this horribly, and does not know how she will function in the house as she wants to take online courses. We told her she can stay as long as she wants, rent-free even. But this is the condition. She has not been talking to me since, and Ray thinks we should change our minds to until she moves out or finishes college instead, but I don't want to budge. I care for her comfort, but I really want to have my voice in the home back. Am I the asshole? Aware at 9095 replied, "Oh, it absolutely can be real. I treated a young girl with a fairly severe case. At the start of therapy, her father had to completely avoid being in her presence. Therapy consisted of several adaptations like noise-canceling headphones and quiet places in the house. We also worked a great deal on empathy. Her father was beside himself with pain. He loved her so much and longed to be close." Number 3. Am I the a-hole for giving my future mother-in-law 3 days to pay me for a new wedding dress, or else I show the family a photo of her wearing it? So, I'm getting married to my fiancé soon. I bought my wedding dress weeks ago. My future mother-in-law kept pestering me about trying it on, but I firmly refused. I finally shut it down after she offered me $100 to let her try it on. Her reasoning for persisting so much: she says it's because of her love for wedding dresses and her obsession with them. Fast forward to yesterday. I came home from work early and I found my fiancé at home. He freaked out after seeing me and tried to prevent me from going into my room while trying to text somebody on his phone. I opened the door and was shocked to see his mom standing there wearing my dress. I instantly pulled out my phone and took a photo of her in it. She and my fiancé freaked out after I told her that she needed to pay me for a new dress in 3 days or else I'll show the whole family the photo. She started crying and then left, and my fiancé blew up at me saying I can't be serious and that I overreacted because his mom just wanted to try the dress on. No harm done. But I refused to listen to him because, in my opinion, the dress should only be worn by the bride and the bride only. Quite frankly, I felt disgusted looking at the dress again. I don't want it anymore. And so, I think it's fair that she pays me after she ruined it for me. He yelled at me and told me to wake up and stop treating his mom like that as if she was an enemy. We had a fight after he failed to get me to back down, and he's been staying with his mom since then. I felt awful, but I spent $3,000 on this dress and worked hard to get it. I can't stand looking at it, but people in my family think I'm escalating things and risking my relationship with not only future mother-in-law but my fiancé as well. Am I the asshole? Update: oh my god, this blew up, and so I thought I'd add some updates. My fiancé called and offered to pay for the dress himself so we can end the conflict, but he wants me to hand him my phone so he can delete the photo himself. Swear that I don't have any copies to use against his mom later. Apologize to his mom. And lastly, he asked that I quit his family group chat and log out of Facebook for at least a month. I haven't responded yet. P.S. He called with this offer conditions hours ago, but I didn't want to include this in the post, but now I did. Also, I'm not sure if I'll agree because I don't want him to pay for it. I want his mom, the one who wore it, to pay for it. Not being vicious but trying to hold her accountable. Moose Live replied, "Not the asshole, but are you sure you want to marry this guy? He stood guard outside your bedroom so that his mother could try on your wedding dress. Do you think he will ever stand up for you against her? Also, I think all the incest suggestions are way off base. He's just an asshole who can't say no to his mother and is prepared to deceive op if it will shut his mother up. His mother, on the other hand, is controlling, manipulative, and deceitful, and will probably be an absolutely horrible mother-in-law should op choose to go through with this marriage." Edit 2. I think all the incest suggestions are way off base. This was in reference to the suggestions that Op's fiancé was in, or looking for, a physical relationship with his mother. Emotional incest is a very distinct possibility. Thanks to everyone who pointed this out. Rain Squirrel says, send the photo to everyone invited, with an announcement that regretfully, you will no longer be participating in the wedding, but you wish the couple the best. B Ninja 84 says, I also don't like how she has to prove she deleted the photo and that she didn't send the photo to anyone too. Why is she being treated she did something wrong and broke his trust? She's not the one who let their mom try on something that wasn't hers, and hid it, and tried to stop their fiancé and delay them. I have such bad feelings for this marriage, it gives me just no vibes of the highest order. A terrible friend Zero replied. Naughty asshole, but the problem isn't just your future mother-in-law, it's your fiancé. He let her in. He was going to lie and hide from you that she tried it on. He is defending her actions. He disrespected your belongings. He didn't care about your feelings and still doesn't. He has shown he doesn't care about your boundaries. He decided his mother's want to try it on is more important than your feelings, and that won't go away when you're married. Personally, my petty self would call off the engagement, and the announcement of that would be the picture of his mom in the wedding dress stating, unfortunately, I cannot marry insert his name. It appears he's already married and emotionally committed to his mother. At the bare minimum, you should postpone until he can respect your boundaries. Number 4. Will I be the asshole if I don't change my son's name even though it may cause him to lose an inheritance? I, 24, got pregnant while I was taking a gap year traveling. I met an older guy, nothing gross, I was 19, he was 23. We had fun. I was working in a bar to make money while I explored his city. When I got pregnant, he lost interest really quickly. I understood, but I am pro-choice. And I chose not to terminate. I went home and had my son. I also made sure to get child support. He could afford it. He did fight it though. I had to prove paternity and everything. Through that, his parents found out. They are well off. They have met my son and they truly do seem to love him. They have provided gifts for his birthday and Christmas. They helped me with extra money so I could complete my university without going into debt. They have taken us on vacation with them so they could spend time with him. They aren't my biggest fans, but we are cordial to each other. 3 months ago, my son's father passed away. He got drunk at his bachelor party, tripped on the sidewalk, and hit his head. And that was all she wrote. My son and I attended the funeral. We spent a week in that city so his grandparents could see him. They approached me with an offer. They had no other children or grandchildren. Their son was only 28, so he had lots of time to provide them legitimate kids. They did not say this, I'm just assuming, so they never thought about my son's name. They said that if I changed his surname to theirs legally, they would make him their primary heir. I think this is dumb. He is their only grandchild and they would deny him an inheritance because of his last name. I said I would consider it, to be polite, and have left it at that. I actually have a pretty good life as it is. My family has been very supportive. And because of the whole court thing, my son's father had to have life insurance with him as the beneficiary. Would it be nice for my kid to get a big sum of money? Yes. Do I want him to have the surname of a man who didn't want him, see him, or love him? No. I have been talking to my family about it and a few of them think I'm being an asshole for giving up this kind of money for my son. It is generational wealth and I'm making the decision based on emotion. I think they are assholes for thinking money is the only thing that matters. I think I will tell my son's grandparents that they can talk to him about it when he is 16. He will be old enough to understand the implications, but young enough not to be tied professionally to his last name. Ex-scapegoat says, if Op agrees to this, it's not the last time they'll use the strings to treat Op and son like puppets. Learning gifts have strings attached is a valuable lesson. These people sound manipulative AF. And they raised a kid who fell and hit his head in a drinking incident, and only grudgingly took financial responsibility for his kid. There wasn't anything wrong with him asking for a paternity test, it's the subsequent doing the bare minimum to M referring to by begrudgingly. A truly loving grandparent would make the kid their heir regardless of name. These people will want to dictate where the kid goes to school, college, career, etc. It'd be one thing if someone was starving or needed to pay for medical treatment, But that's not the situation here. ETA, a commenter pointed out an accident like falling while drinking can happen to anyone. That is true. In Ops X's case, it was more the overall pattern of not being responsible which makes me see it in this light. Ron's girl Friday replied, "Yeah, I don't know why people aren't considering the fact that the grandparents can always change their minds and there will in the future even if Op does this. It's not like this is a contract she can hold them to. Grandparents have already shown that they are taking a transactional approach to the subject of inheritance when it comes to their only grandchild. They'll make him primary heir if he has their last name. Him existing as their beloved grandchild who has a relationship with them isn't sufficient. They'll grant him this level of support if it's naive to think more ifs aren't going to crop up in the next decade or two. And this if isn't even about something like his conduct, which I would understand. Obviously, they're entitled to do as they wish with their own estate. They're allowed to make this pitch, even though it's distasteful. But I don't think Op would be an asshole at all for saying no. She gave birth to this child, she's his mother, she's raising him. Also, everyone's saying her son will hate her if he finds out about this when he gets older. But really, if he grows up and grandparents say, we haven't designated you as our heir because of your last name, it'll just make them look petty AF, in my opinion." Dunk 615 says, "You're the asshole. F the dude, but also, you're kinda screwing your kid by not changing the name. That money is your child's future and guess what, they'll probably want it regardless of y'all's beef. If they find out, that could also wreck y'all's relationship. Get the bag. You can be honoring the grandparents that have been involved in your son's life and ultimately your kid can change the name if they don't like it. But the money can allow your child to pursue their dreams without having to worry about the stress of loans, etc. Tricky situation overall. I would probably consider the hyphenated route and have your son decide for himself when he's old enough. Like a few others on this post have said, when you grow up reasonably well off, money isn't important at all. But when you come from nothing and still have to struggle to make it, every little bit counts. Especially if you don't have to go into crazy amounts of debt in order to build a comfortable life. It's about access to opportunities that he otherwise wouldn't have had." What do you think? Thank you for watching. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more content like this in the future.